Today, I'd like to talk about Qi and the idea of Qigong. From the time I first began Taijiquan in 1965 with Professor Zheng Jing, I always heard that Taijiquan was the highest form of Qigong. I never really questioned this. Everybody agreed that it was so. And nobody could really explain to me exactly why it was so. It seemed to use the same terminology. It seemed to, have everybody sort of all of the people who liked Qigong and Taijiquan, they all like each other and they all accept each other's, authority and the relationship between Qigong and Taijiquan. But what was it exactly? That was my question. So in the years since, I've discovered that the relationship is a very deep one, and there's a good reason that Taijiquan is considered the highest form of Qigong. And it has to do with the basic method of Qigong. What is the basic method of Qigong? The basic method is described in the old saying, use a little movement to attract the Qi. This is, I guess, most expressed by somebody in the morning when they wake up and they're, groggy from sleep. And when you do that, you kind of do like this. You make little movements. You sort of want little movements all over the body. So this kind of movement attracts the Qi. And so Qigong is, in a sense, based on refinements of that concept. And the idea is that as you do this, the movements become finer and finer. They transmit more and more energy until finally you can start to call the whole thing Qi. And the movement becomes very fine. When you go to a Qigong demonstration, frequently they'll say, how do you relax completely, think about your hands, concentrate on your hands. And your hands become sure enough puffy, warm, so forth. You have just succeeded in directing the Qi with your hands, with your mind. So that's very attractive and it's very correct. That is Qigong. But the question is, how do your hands get that way? The hands, there's a little thing in the brain called the homunculus that's standing upside down in the brain. Their head's in the middle and the feet are at the very top of your head. And this thing is proportioned in the same way that your nervous system is proportioned for that part of the body, so that the head is the biggest thing. It's got the most nerves in it. And something like your feet, their knees or something, are very distant and they're very small. In fact, the stomach is very small. Usually, even if you have to be a fat person, your neurological stomach is quite small. But what is the second largest thing? The hands. They're huge. And it is for this reason, physiologically, that it's easy to direct Qi in that direction to create this effect of, blood flowing and so forth. So this is really Qigong. And, why are the hands this way? Because they have the most intricate movement over the course of your life. You've actually recorded somewhere in the neurology of the brain, you've recorded all the possible different paths and the variations of everything the hands can do. So for anybody of any sex, of any race, of any religion, of any place on the world, it's always true because everybody uses their hands in that way. So it's really the intricacy of your movement that automatically creates this capacity. So Taijiquan, frankly, is the highest form of Qigong because it actually tries to extend this principle of very fine and differentiated movement to the whole body. In fact, there are concepts and forms of Taijiquan in which you really allow a lot of kind of real wiggling around by the body. Now, the style that I prefer, and what I do, the Yang style, is very much interested in keeping the spine straight so that the body can operate as one piece. And this is because this makes it easy to make Taijis, which is a subject of it's another subject. But the point is, it still preserves this kind of internal looseness and so forth so that energy can be transmitted. You want complete relaxation. And by relaxation, what the Chinese mean in terms of Taijiquan is freedom from Li. Li is anything that keeps you from free movement of the joints or all over the body. Anything that impedes or restricts the ability of the body to break itself up into smaller and smaller pieces, you might say. So Taijiquan really advocates continuous change everywhere, all the time. So it is, not only the highest form of Qigong, but technically you might say it's the highest. It's GUNG. Qigong is really characterized as concentration on one point and moving that point of consciousness around and so forth. But GUNG is the idea, well, you can just do that everywhere at once. Everything moves at once, all the energy in the body. So Taijiquan definitely goes for that, strives for that thing. So it does fulfill this thing of sophistication in terms of its relationship to Qigong, in terms of its relationship to its basic acquisition. But there's another way in which it also relates to Qigong, and it's a very, science fiction, super far out kind of way, and that is through the advanced exercises, specifically through Sanshou. Sanshou is just the Chinese word for free sparring, more or less. We do a Sanshou exercise in Taijiquan, and the purpose of that exercise is to allow energy to go back and forth between two players. And the kind of energy that's happening back and forth means it really has to create waves of change that go through the body and back. This is, you might say, from a Qigong point of view, one of the highest concepts possible. And when this reaches its highest level, it's called an exchange of jing. Jing in this case meaning this ability to create a lot of force, a lot of speed, a lot of power, essentially, over a very short space. So when people can do this back and forth with each other, they're demonstrating a very high level of Qigong, because it is only at the level where the Qi moves extremely smoothly that kind of thing can go through the body and not injure the body it's going through in the first place. So you might say that Taiji sort of fulfills the concept of the highest level of Qigong from two directions. One, it's like clearly one of the most sophisticated ways to practice Qigong. And two, it demonstrates in its most advanced form the kind of ultimate fruit of circulation of Qi, which is the acquisition of what we call jing.